Today's episode of NFL Head Coach Predictions from Chat Sports is sponsored by Fetch. Guys, this app is awesome because you scan receipts, you build points, and then you turn them into gift cards. It's free, it's easy, it's user-friendly. We'll tell you more about the app a little bit later. Go to chatsports.com/fetch. And by the way, with promo code CHAT, when you scan that first receipt, you're going to get 3,000 bonus points. So download the app now, and then we'll tell you more about it a little bit later in the show. Okay, so topic, NFL head coach predictions. Tom Downey did this video about a week ago. No one's been hired, Chase. Yeah. We're going to do it again here, and you'll get our predictions here on today's show. This doesn't need to be reveal style. These are the head coach openings for this cycle. You got the Bears, Broncos, Texans, and the Jaguars. You also got the Raiders, Dolphins, Vikings, and then the New York Giants. 8 jobs. Some speculation, maybe a job or two else opens up, but as of now, that is where we sit here, Chase. And we'll ask the audience, and I want to ask you, out of these 8, which job do you think is the best one right now? If you had to pick one, best head coaching job.
I want a quarterback, okay? I want a quarterback in place because that means I can win, maybe not in the first year, but maybe right away. Raiders, Bears, and I really like the foundation of the Jacksonville Jaguars because of Trevor Lawrence. Like, those are the 3 teams. And then the second level, Minnesota Vikings is a really good gig because you have Kirk Cousins and 2 of the best wide receivers in the league. Miami Dolphins has a very good, well-rounded roster.
Defense
so there are very good openings across the NFL in this hiring cycle.
Let us know. Agree, disagree, best job in this cycle. All right, so what we're going to do, we'll go one by one, break it down. I'll give my coach prediction. Chase will give his. We'll go team by team here. The Chicago Bears, that's the team I cover the closest here at Chat Sports. Chase, you'll give your prediction first. Who's going to get this job?
Harrison, I know you're the host of Chicago Bears Now by Chat Sports. I don't want to do it to you, but I have to read the tea leaves here and follow in line with all of the recent reporting from guys like Albert Breer that it's going to be Bills defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier as the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. I don't agree with it. You look at the NFC right now, basically every head coach is offensive-minded, and I think that's where the league is obviously trending toward, and I think that's the smartest thing to do is to hire that offensive mastermind. I just think the Bears are a poorly run organization, and I think they're going to hire Leslie Frazier. That's my prediction.
I'm also going to go a defensive prediction, which I wouldn't hate this one as much. He's a younger guy. Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator of the Colts. Why is this my prediction? First of all, it's not like an insanely strong prediction. It's just like if I have to pick one now, this is my educated guess. He's the only guy who's been announced as getting a second interview so far. And by the way, the Bears still haven't hired a GM. And also, when he interviews for a second time on Monday, that's also when the Bears are going to interview GM candidate Morocco Brown, who used to be a scout for the Bears in the early mid-2000s, who is now the director of college scouting in Indianapolis. Could there be some dots to connect there? They're going to interview on the same day. I'll go Matt Eberflus. I'd be better with that. I think he's a younger, more innovative guy who deserves an opportunity. It's nothing against Leslie Frazier, but we saw what he did in the NFC North, I will add, with the Vikings. It didn't go well. He's a great DC. I'm just not convinced he can be a great head coach. Let's go to the Denver Broncos here now, Chase, which is also a very interesting job. They've got everything except the quarterback.
Yes.
I think that's the challenge there. I'll go first this time. A lot of the chatter's been around Dan Quinn, and we can go ahead and reveal Chase as well. This is one of the 2 jobs we're on the same page here, Chase. A lot of the chatter has been Dan Quinn to Denver. It's a safe hire. He's been a head coach with some success as well. Obviously, we all know what happened in the Super Bowl meltdown, but he still got to a Super Bowl and went to multiple other playoff appearances with the Atlanta Falcons. And what he did with the Cowboys defense, making them literally the worst defense last year, turning it into a top 10 unit this year in 1 year overnight, that's pretty impressive work.
I'd be highly surprised if any NFL operation went with a defensive head coach for the 3rd time in a row, especially when you won a Super Bowl with Gary Kubiak, who's an offensive guy, but they go Vance Joseph, then they go with Vic Fangio. I just think Dan Quinn, somehow one of the best head coaching candidates in this cycle, and that's why the Broncos are kind of in that second-tier teams that I talked about earlier. I didn't mention them, but they fit right there. I love their roster. I really like their George Payton as the GM,
he's good.
So I like the general manager. We'll see what happens with ownership, but this is a really talented team. They just need to get the quarterback right.
Yeah, no doubt. The Houston Texans, they have a lot of needs, but Davis Mills played decent down the stretch. Maybe they've got a piece in him at quarterback. Chase, which is your prediction? Which coach you going for Houston?
New England South. A lot of Patriots folks in that building. Why not bring a familiar face back in Brian Flores, who in his 2 years with the Miami Dolphins had back-to-back winning seasons, and to end this year with weak quarterback play with Tua Tagovailoa, they still won 7 of their last 8 games, right? So I think Flores is a very good coach. I think he was able to rebuild and reshape that culture in Miami. Just didn't have the quarterback situation right. That's why he got canned.
Quick correction, 3 years in Miami, last 2 years winning seasons. But what's interesting is
last 2 years.
His first year in Miami might have been his best work. They went 5-11, but they started 0-8.
Right.
So
exactly.
He did a really good job there. I like Flores quite a bit. I'll go Patriots South also. But I'll go Jerod Mayo, a different
defensive
coach
guy too,
within that organization currently. Inside linebackers coach, but he's been getting some coaching buzz over the last couple of years. I think he gets a head coaching job at some point. If he gets one in this cycle, Houston makes sense because he can be a long-term play as this roster slowly rebuilds. They have some draft capital to work with. They'll have even more if they're able to trade Deshaun Watson this offseason, which would be very beneficial as well. So we will see who gets that Texans gig. It's certainly kind of a weird job right now because you still have the whole Deshaun Watson situation lurking over the franchise at this point in time. Okay, more jobs to break down, more jobs to predict, but we wanted to tell you a little bit more about the Fetch Rewards app. Chase and I have gotten very busy with Fetch because it's fun. You build up points, and what do you do as you guys can see how easy it is to scan receipts? You open the app, you click the orange icon there at the bottom, and you start scanning away. You build points, Chase, which then you can eventually turn into gift cards. I got my coffee from Starbucks free this morning because you can turn it into a Starbucks gift card as well.
Literally, you can scan any receipt. Now, for me, I love supporting local businesses, especially after how hardly hit they were hit after the pandemic. So you can go to a mom-and-pop shop and support a local business, get a receipt, or you can go to a large retail store like Walmart, and you simply scan your receipt with your phone. And over time, you get those points. They all rack up and accumulate. That then leads to you getting free gift cards from places like Walmart, Amazon. Get your morning coffee paid for with a gift card from Starbucks. And if you connect your purchases to your email, Fetch can scan your email and find those receipts, and that then contributes to you getting to this bonus points
email
as well.
Receipts count as well. So I've been telling my audience this as well. Now always accept your receipts. Because I was the guy when I'd fill up gas, you want your receipt back? Oh,
Nope.
just click no. Now I'm selecting yes, quick scan. I got 1,000 points when I filled up gas the other day. It adds up over time. The more points you get, the higher amount of gift cards you're able to select as well. It's awesome. It's free, and it takes about 10 seconds. I mean, it really is that easy. And by the way, final note here, 3,000 bonus points with promo code CHAT when you sign up. So go ahead and take advantage of that. We'll have the link, chatsports.com/fetch, in the comments. That promo code as well. Get started with the Fetch Rewards app. More jobs to predict here. The Jacksonville Jaguars, which I think is one of the interesting ones, Chase. I think some people think it's potentially the best job, and I think some people think it could be the worst because this is the Jags we're talking about. I'll go Byron Leftwich. Played quarterback there, knows the franchise really well. It's not a far move from him from Tampa over to Jacksonville. I think he's a guy that could work well with Trevor Lawrence. There's that question, well, is it Leftwich, is it Brady? Well, Byron Leftwich was a hot name going back to Arizona under Bruce Arians. So he's worked his way up in the coaching ranks for several years now. They had a nice offense with Jameis Winston. It's not his fault Jameis kept throwing picks as he was squinting looking at those defensive backs. But I think Lefty gets a job this cycle, Chase, and I think the Jags make the most sense because they're familiar with him and he's familiar with them.
I like it. I just didn't want to have the same answer as you. So I'm going with Brian Daboll, offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. I love him for a variety of reasons. If I was running an NFL operations unit, a franchise, if I was a general manager, he'd be top 5 on my list of head coaching candidates for a multitude of reasons. Obviously, the most obvious one, his development with Josh Allen the last 2 years has been phenomenal. To turn a Wyoming quarterback who failed to complete 55% of his passes into an MVP candidate the last 2 years really really is incredible. Also, though, not only do I like his offensive scheme, he's a Nick Saban disciple, a Bill Belichick disciple. He's worked on multiple positions and sides of the football. Offensively, I'm going Brian Daboll because I think that he would really bring the best out of Trevor Lawrence after a disastrous, and I mean disastrous, Urban Meyer stint.
What I love about Daboll is he's learned over time how to improve as a play caller.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of experience both at the college and NFL level.
Also, they couldn't run it a few weeks ago. What are they doing now?
They're running
the football. Adjust on the fly.
Well, and what he's done is he's built the offense around his talented quarterback,
Yep.
and that's what all great offensive minds do. All right, 4 more jobs here. The Las Vegas Raiders, who, they're kind of in a precarious spot. Do you keep Rich Bisaccia? Do you go in a new direction? I think we're on the same page here, and there's a lot of momentum toward this happening, Chase. Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
We only agreed on two of the 8 jobs. A report from Bruce Feldman came out that if Harbaugh got offered the gig, he would likely take it. I mean, that's, Jim Harbaugh hasn't come out publicly and said I'm staying at Michigan. So until he does, that leads me to think he's heavily considering the NFL, whether it's the Bears, Raiders, Giants, or somewhere else. Seems like the Raiders are the front runner for Jim Harbaugh. Anything to add there?
Yeah, pretty funny picture surfacing on Twitter today of him recruiting in Florida, and he's on the squat rack. So he's still out there grinding and hustling for Big Blue, trying to recruit some players to Michigan, but he's weighing his options. It's all about leverage. Honestly, I'd love to see Harbaugh go back to the NFL. He's won immediately everywhere he's gone, and him to the Raiders is litty. And I think he'd get the best out of Derek Carr. It'd be a phenomenal situation. Big brand, big name coach, marketability, new stadium, really passionate fan base. It all comes together to form magic.
The Miami Dolphins, I think a team kind of being lost in this coaching carousel because they were in the headlines early. It's like they're firing Brian Flores. They've kind of interviewed some interesting candidates, including Mike McDaniel, the run game coordinator, offensive coordinator in San Francisco, who has kind of found his way into the headlines with how much of an OG he is at this point with some of the stuff. Mike Jones, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go check it out. My prediction, I didn't have a good feel for Miami here, so I'll go Eric Bieniemy. If he doesn't get a job in this cycle, Chase, I just don't know when it's going to come. I mean, Andy Reid can only endorse this guy so many times before he gets an opportunity. Now, there's some baggage in the past. When he was a coach at Colorado, there was a DUI. There's some other allegations as well. And obviously, in 2020 and beyond, those things matter. I mean, you cannot ignore these things when you're hiring a leader of your franchise. But players love him. Andy Reid has signed off on him. I think he deserves an opportunity. The red flag there is, are you getting the next Matt Nagy? Because people were saying glowing things about him when he was under Andy Reid in Kansas City. Offense never took off in Chicago. I think it's a totally different situation, but I think that does scare people off a bit.
I'm going Kevin O'Connell. His name really starting to gather some buzz, offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. And look, Sean McVay's coaching tree has been very, very successful in the early going. A lot of successful people have gone through that system, and that's where the NFL system is really trending toward in terms of offense. And everybody kind of wants their fingerprints on everything that Sean McVay is doing, so they identify some of his assistant coaches to take over for their head coaching duties. I like Kevin O'Connell to Miami.
Took a while, but Zach Taylor's got it rolling in Cincinnati now, a Sean McVay disciple. Okay, if you love the NFL, subscribe because there's a lot of movement in this coaching carousel. The playoffs are heating up with the divisional round coming up this weekend. Hit that big red button, youtube.com/chatsportstv. And then once the playoffs are over, free agency, draft. I can't wait for the draft this year. It's going to be a lot of fun, so stay tuned for all of that. A couple more to break down here. Minnesota Vikings, then we'll get to the Giants. I think this is an interesting job because the Vikings have a decision to make. Do they trade Cousins and restart, or do they stay in win-now mode? Because you have a win-now quarterback, you have Dalvin Cook, and you have 2 elite receivers. What happens here? What direction are you going in for the Vikings?
Nathaniel Hackett, an assistant coach who Minnesota is very familiar with. He stays in the division. He goes from under Matt LaFleur to Minnesota, stays in the NFC North, and I think they go offense here in this hiring cycle. They just had a defensive coach in Mike Zimmer, and they won a bunch of games under Mike Zimmer. He had a very successful stint in Minnesota. I just think they want a fresher voice. They want a younger face. They want to go offense. That's why I'm going Hackett.
Nathaniel Hackett got a 4,000-yard season out of Blake Bortles. Like,
that's tough.
That's doing something.
Yeah.
Like that's not nothing.
Got in the bag too.
Yeah, shout out to Nathaniel Hackett for getting Bortles the bag. A similar ideology here, but a more proven guy, Doug Pederson. Things ended in a bizarre way in Philadelphia. A lot of egos were clashing. Carson Wentz, Doug Pederson, Howie Roseman. Kind of hard to tell who was to blame for all of that. But I will say this. If you want to keep this core together and you want to go offense, who better than Doug Pederson? I think Kirk Cousins would fit his offense really, really well. Dalvin Cook's a talented back. I think this would work. I think you could really get the best out of this current crop of players in Minnesota if you get Doug Pederson in there. You can put Pederson in there next year and Rodgers leaves. Vikings are probably the favorite to win the North. Yeah. I mean, that's just how it is. So I'm going to go Doug Pederson to Minnesota. Who's the best coaching candidate in this cycle? If Jim Harbaugh comes back, I think it's him, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no
See
doubt.
The top
for
guy?
Me. Yeah, Harbaugh's my guy.
Pederson too?
Yeah,
Depends on
but
who
like,
you ask.
so
there's
hey,
there's some
I'm about to
baggage.
talk Doug Pederson right now.
All right, let's get to the next team then. A little teaser there. Giants. Yeah. Chase going Doug Pederson. So, hey, man,
look,
take it away.
He stays in the NFC East. He goes from Philadelphia to Philadelphia's rival, right up I-95 to New York. And I love Doug Pederson to the Giants. The Giants since 2017, along with the New York Jets, have the worst winning percentage in the NFL. Lower than the Detroit Lions. That's saying something.
That's a joke.
This is a franchise in market number 1 that should be competing year in, year out. It's a proud franchise. It's a very successful franchise. And you can look at the entire franchise's history and look no further than that. This is a place where you can win big. The fact that they've been this bad for so long is an absolute disgrace. John Morris said this is the most embarrassed that he's ever been about the New York Football Giants. The fans are wearing bags on their heads at games. Our Giants host Marshall Green is embarrassed to even show his face on the New York Giants Now channel because they've been so bad. They need a stabilizer.
Yep.
And there's not a better stabilizer in this coaching carousel than Doug Pederson. That's why I think he's the perfect fit with New York.
I'll go Brian Flores. There's so much
another Belichick
there's
guy.
So much yeah, that's one thing I didn't like, but there's so much conflicting information about this guy. Who was to blame in Miami? Who wanted Tua? Who wanted Watson? Was it Flores? Was it owner? Like, there's so much going on. They chose GM Chris Greer down in Miami over Flores, and a lot of leaks have come out since then. I don't know if it's Miami trying to do a little CYA, cover your ass thing. I don't know if there's some truth to what's coming out about Flores, about he wants too much power, too much control. I don't know. But I know he's a no-nonsense kind of guy. I think you have to be inspired by how quickly he turned Miami into relevancy again. I mean, they were an absolute disaster when he took that job in 2 straight winning seasons in a row with a mediocre at best quarterback in Tua at this point in his career. I think there's a lot to like with what we saw from him as a head coach. Now, do you want to go back to the Belichick tree? That's the question. Now, the difference here would be you're not hiring a damn special teams coach, okay? Like, Brian Flores has more skins on the wall than Joe Judge ever did. So we'll see what shakes out. I think there's some good coaches in this cycle, and 8 jobs being open is rather interesting here in 2022. Now, which team's going to pick one first, Chase? I mean, Jags had a head start on all of them.
Yes.
So
Giants have been really kind of like dumbing down their candidates for the general manager.
GMs.
Yes.
But then they start their coach.
For the
so
GM.
you kind of figure they're probably at least a week away from a coach.
Exactly.
So let us know who's going to hire a coach first.